for many months, maybe a year, more than a year, the house had a differently shaped roof. And then it's back to a peaked shaped roof. And
Wow.
I have to assume, I will believe, that I must have shifted my reality ever so slightly, and now it has shifted again.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Everyday Woo, the place where we talk about the magical side of life with everyday people. As human beings, we are capable of having extraordinary, outside of the box, sometimes scary, quote unquote, woo experiences. And it is the intention of this and every episode of the Everyday Woo to try to help normalize what those experiences might be. That being said, I am Amy from Cultivating Silence, and my guest today is Janet. Janet has a master's degree in counseling and worked for a time at the Catholic Social Agency. She is also a past life regression therapist, and she recently retired after 37 years of teaching business at Lehigh Carbon Community College. And I'm sure she's many other things in this life, which we will find out about today. And we will definitely find out about her experiences with the woo. So join me, everyone, in welcoming Janet to the show. Hi, Janet. How are you today?
I'm great, Amy. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, I'm very glad that you're here. I'm excited for everyone to hear your many experiences, I believe, in the category of the woo. And I do like to start simply by asking, what is your definition of the woo?
My definition of the woo is really just anything that would not be in what our culture refers to as normal. And that could be hearing voices.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily schizophrenia,
Yes.
or seeing apparitions or orbs. It could be knowing, just simply knowing that certain things are happening or have happened. And it's just out of bounds of what we would consider normal in our Western culture.
That's a beautiful definition. I love that. And it's lovely to me because you said it's not necessarily schizophrenia. And
Yes.
and this show is really about helping to normalize. Yes, when we have these
Yes.
experiences, it doesn't mean we're going crazy or need to go to the doctor or
Yes.
need to be medicated.
Yes. I've met a lovely woman named Tina Louise Spalding, who is a channeler. And when she first started receiving the channels, she truly thought, oh my goodness, I'm going crazy.
Okay.
Penny Kelly said the same thing. When the little men in robes showed up to her, she thought surely she had gone mad. But no, they hadn't. And in the eras when that happened to them, if they had consulted friends, family, or a doctor, they might well have been diagnosed with some type of mental illness and treated for that illness, when in fact, they're just seeing the other side of the veil.
Beautiful. Yes, and
Yes.
I agree with that. I hope, tell me what you think of this, that you mentioned if they had revealed it in back in their day, that
Mhm.
might have happened to them. I'm hoping that revealing these kinds of things in our culture today, that it is becoming more and more normalized. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. There are still people going, oh, you must be having some type of psychotic break.
Yes.
But when it keeps recurring, no, they're going, okay, we need to work with this and see what it really is. And of course, you're always going to have somebody who gets very freaked out by it.
Yes. Yes, understandably so. I mean, I don't know that I've ever mentioned it on this show, but I started having some of these experiences at the age of 5.
Okay.
And, at 5 years old, you're kind of freaking out.
Yes. Yes. And your parents would truly freak out. What's happening to my child?
Yes,
And how can I help my child?
that's right. a wonderful point that, yes, for friends and family of people who are having these experiences, for the support systems of those having the experiences to try to relax and stay grounded as well.
Mhm. Mhm. And
Beautiful.
I have to tell you that, and I think most of the people that would consider themselves in the woo world will say the same thing, but I never felt that I truly fit in. I just saw things differently than other people, and I didn't understand why I didn't see things the same as other people.
Yeah. And so you would say that of yourself?
Yes.
Mhm.
And just, I just knew some things um, were, I don't want to call them lies, but I'll call them inappropriate suggestions. I remember being about 10 years old, and my mother was a very religious woman and had to go to church and had to go to Sunday school. And I remember singing that Jesus loves me, this I know, in Sunday school, and then going into the church where the fire and brimstone minister was telling me that I'm a terrible sinner and I'm going to burn in the fires of hell. And I couldn't understand the dichotomy there, and actually asked the minister about it, who got very upset with me. And that actually caused me to not ask again.
Yes.
From that point on, I continued to attend church because my mother told me I had to. And I just realized this is really not for me. I would even say it was a bunch of hooey. But I waited until I went off to college, and then I decided for myself whether I would attend a religious service or not, and I chose not to. These days, I do study A Course in Miracles,
Okay.
and I find that to be a great comfort in my life. And I truly believe that we are all one big consciousness,
Beautiful. Hmm.
and we are all literally godlike.
Hmm.
But many people still are adhering to other religions and worrying that they're not living their life in the appropriate fashion,
Hmm.
that they're somehow going to be sinners or not religious enough.
Hmm.
I, on the other hand, am saying I'm doing the best I can every day with what I have,
Hmm.
and that's where it is.
Hmm.
And it'll just continue to grow. And I've been studying the course for about 10 years now, and you still learn something from it every time you go to it. What struck you 10 years ago or 5 years ago, you read that same passage today, and it brings up something entirely different.
Oh, that's always nice. I love
That's,
that. And for people who might not know, could you just talk a tiny little bit about what A Course in Miracles
oh,
is?
yes, I'm sorry. Yes, many people are not aware of it. A Course in Miracles was channeled by a woman named Helen Schuckman back in 1976. She was a psychologist, and a colleague of hers, William Thetford, helped transcribe everything. And it is, according to Ms. or Dr. Schuckman, transcribed channeling from Jesus. And it basically tells us that we are one big consciousness,
Mm.
and that, again, you are love, and the most important thing is love.
Mm.
And when a person is acting out, or you feel that you are not making enough of yourself, or some other feeling like that, it's either an act of love or a call for love.
Oh, beautiful.
And so when you have somebody who's yelling at you or criticizing you,
Hmm.
it's not always about you. It may be their call for love. And so if we can send them love
Hmm.
orally, mentally, then maybe we can solve that problem, if it were really a problem, without actually getting into an argument or feeling poorly, or that person feeling poorly. But it is really all about love.
Well, I just love that. If anyone watching this episode has ever watched any other episodes, I always like to point these things out. This idea of love comes up over and over and
Mhm.
over again in varying episodes, maybe not every single one, but in many episodes. And as I do my work as a therapist, it comes up all the time. And I would absolutely encourage anyone to experiment doing what you just basically said.
Yes.
If something is coming up in your life, practice just as a little experiment, sending love either
Mhm.
to the person or to the experience, or yes, and just see what happens. It's
Yes.
miraculous sometimes, the kinds of things that can happen.
Exactly. And if you are interested in A Course in Miracles, please go to acim.org and you can download the entire book free.
Wow.
You
Okay.
can have the lesson each day sent to your phone as text.
Wow.
And sometimes it's, again, that's very nice. I have the lessons every day. And 5 years ago, I read the lesson and it was interesting, but today I'll read it and it's just exactly what I need to hear today.
Beautiful.
And a similar thing I will mention, I also get notes from the universe. I've signed up for that. It's from a gentleman named Mike Dooley,
Okay.
and he sends out a note from the universe each day. And some days I wonder, how did he know what was going on that I needed to hear this?
Hmm.
And I also have a friend, a mentor of mine, Jim Stroll, and he sends out reflections and only to a small group, but they're also so appropriate. And they're based on the non duality
Oh,
that A
beautiful.
Course in Miracles supports. And A Course in Miracles, of course, also talks about we're here for the experience.
Ah, yeah.
And our main purpose is to be happy. Hmm.
Okay.
And not everybody knows happiness. And I wish they did. That is something that everybody should know for at least one moment of their life is that they are happy. Now, again, like I said, I think the average woo person, and I put that in quotes,
Yeah.
is kind of in the same spot as me where they don't quite see things the same as other people, but then they maybe have a being that they can see or communicate with. My late husband passed about 15 years ago,
Mhm.
and yet anytime I'm driving the car by myself, he's in the passenger seat. And I
Wow.
don't physically see him, but I feel his presence.
Mhm.
And he was a car nut, worked as a mechanic for years, taught auto mechanics, and he loves to be in the car and comes with me. And it's very nice. I find it very comforting,
Mhm.
especially on long drives.
Mhm.
Uh, Now, other things that are just woo like that have come into my life, I have lived in the same home for over 30 years.
Mhm.
And for over 30 years, there has been a house across the fields from me that has had a pointed roof. And when I'm in my driveway backing out, or when I'm out in the front porch, I see the roof of this house and it's always looked the same. And about 2 years ago, on a rainy day, I was going out and I'm backing out, and behind me, I'm seeing this house, but it doesn't have a pointed roof any longer. It has a mansard shaped roof with the sloped sides. And, I went wherever I was going and I thought, I just saw something weird. And then I came home and it had a different roof. And it stayed that way for some time. And if you've ever listened to Bashar, he talks about alternating realities. And my friend, my mentor, Jim, also talks about the same thing that we are literally moving from reality to reality every second, every minute. And for many months, maybe a year, more than a year, the house had a differently shaped roof. And then it's back to a peaked shaped roof. And
Wow.
I have to assume, I will believe, that I must have shifted my reality ever so slightly, and now it has shifted again. And I'm not sure that anything else changed, but just that house was different. And now it's back to where it was.
That's amazing. I was going to ask you, how do you account for that? And you built that into the story. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's beautiful. And then I ask you, did you notice if anything else changed during that time period? And you answered that question. So
Yes.
only the roof was the only
Yes.
thing that you noticed, kind of for,
Yes.
I think, a year or so.
Hmm.
That's amazing.
And there's certainly not anyone over there building different roofs on the house. Uh, but it's and but other things like I think the last time we spoke, Amy, I had been to the grocery store and I'd bought several things, and then I was trying to make some lunch, and I could not find any mayonnaise in my house at all.
Mhm.
And so I had lunch without mayonnaise type of thing. And then I went to the closet where I keep things, and I opened the door, and there's the mayonnaise.
Now, wait, when you say closet, you didn't go to a clothing closet. You went to like
No,
a pantry where
pantry.
you would have put it. And
Yes.
previously, when you were making lunch, you looked
It,
in there and it wasn't there.
and then it is. I looked in the refrigerator. I looked there. I looked in the other cabinets. And I thought, oh, I guess I forgot to buy it at the supermarket. And then I'm done. And I go and I open that closet and it's staring me right in the face. I'm sure all your viewers have had that happen. Uh, Even if it's just you can't find your keys and I put them in the same place every day. And
Yes,
you look and you can't find them. And then you turn around and there are your keys.
yes.
And that's the woo, if you ask me.
I love that example. I have certainly had that experience
Yes.
more than one time. Sometimes it happens with money in my life.
Oh,
Like I
okay.
have a little, oh, there's some cash over there, and then the cash goes away, and then I'm looking all over for it, and it's like, oh, there's the cash. So
Mhm.
that's pretty interesting. And yes, I agree. I think everyone has had one of those
Oh,
experiences.
yes. Yes.
And if you have maybe just one, I think it's kind of easy to chalk it up to, well, I just couldn't see it. And
Hmm.
there all the time. If it happens over and over again, it begins
Yes.
to be like, well, maybe it wasn't there and now it's back.
Yes. And I've had that type of event probably, I will say, at least dozens of times. And with things like keys and jackets and books.
Yeah.
Uh, and, they can't have moved themselves. If my mayonnaise is not in the cupboard, it can't have walked over there and gotten in the cupboard by itself.
Well,
Or maybe it
that's
did.
that's fascinating to me because I don't know if I'll be able to explain this, but what comes to me when I hear you saying that is I'm resting in the perspective of skeptics uh,
Hmm.
of even what you and I just described as, well, yeah, this kind of thing happens. People would be saying, those who are skeptical, and I think skepticism is a great thing. I think we should be
Yes.
skeptical. But they would be saying, well, that's not true. And then you say, well, it can't have just walked away. Well, who knows what's happening?
Yes, maybe it did walk away. Who knows? Uh,
What do you think? I mean, I do not believe that it just walked away,
no.
but to me, that is as quote unquote crazy sounding as somebody who watching the show for the first time might think everything we've said so far is crazy.
Casey. Yes.
That's my
And
point. But so
yes, it's
do you?
how your perspective what works with that. Most people would just simply say, I must have forgot I placed it there.
Right.
And
Do you
I
think
didn't see
actually
it.
happened?
And I think, again, we may be moving second by second, minute by minute, different realities. And in one reality, I had not yet gone to the grocery store or I had forgotten mayonnaise. And in another reality, I did, in fact, do it.
I love that explanation.
Mhm.
Yes.
And the same is true as you're going about your daily life. Um, and I'm not sure that my reality is changing, or again, I could say I'm just simply being more mindful, but I notice things that I never noticed before. And I'll be going down a road and I'll see a barn, and I'm thinking, I don't remember being a barn that large at that particular property. Or I'll see a new warehouse and I'm thinking, how fast did they build that? I don't remember that warehouse being there before. And I'm sure everybody's been the same thing. You know, one day you go past a field and a week later there's a housing development there.
Yeah.
And maybe they are just not paying enough attention
Right.
and not noticing things.
Right. Or maybe it's quote unquote the woo.
Oh, well, yes. And well, and one of my friend's husbands calls us the woo-woo airy fairy people. And I think sometimes maybe that's an appropriate not name for us.
I do too. Yes. I use that a lot when I'm working with people and I start to talk about things from an energetic perspective. I go, well, okay, now I'm going to get airy fairy. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and and other airy fairy things that happen. I had taken a past life regression course with Dr. Brian Weiss up at Omega.
Mhm.
And being the celebrity hound that I am, I wanted to have a photograph with him.
Mhm.
And so I asked a person to take a picture with my own camera. And that person took a picture. And in the picture, there are orbs around both of us. And then Dr. Weiss had spoken about the fact that when he is photographed, he often has orbs about him.
Interesting.
Then my sister and a friend wanted to go to the 9/11 memorial.
Mhm.
And I live near New York City. So we decided to drive up one day. And we got to the World Trade Center area. And I have to say, it was like a dark cloud descending on me. I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I occasionally I can see people's chakras
Okay.
or their color, and this was just all black. And
Did you see black or did you feel black?
I felt black. And then my sister was taking some photographs. And later, when I looked at the photographs, I have an aura, a white aura, about 6 inches around me. And I think my opinion at that time, my woo opinion, is that it was such a negative space that my angels, my guides, my whomever, my otherworldly beings were protecting me from the negative energy.
Wow.
And if you have ever gone to the 9/11 Memorial or the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., they are terrible places. They
Wow.
so much death is there, and
Yeah.
they are just terrible places.
Yeah.
And I don't ever intend to go back.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
I've never been to either, and I certainly don't intend to go.
Yeah. And and it's something we need to be cognizant of, that people can be treated so mindlessly as if they're nothing. But I can't. The energy is just
Mhm.
too dark, and so I won't go there again. And again, send love to those people. They
You,
may be on the other side, but you can still send a good thought to them,
that's wonderful. Yes.
and and they will receive it. I truly believe they will. I often repeat this, and I heard this from a person who is very intuitive, and she suggested to me that people who have dementia are not able to maintain the veil. And so when they're in that dementia, they can see both sides of the veil. And
Wow.
I know several people who had dementia, but they could speak with past relatives.
Mhm.
And their family would say, well, that person is dead. How are they? But I think maybe they could find that other person on the other side of the veil and then communicate with them.
Mhm.
And it seemed to be a good explanation to me. I don't know if that's actually what's happening, but it seemed a reasonable explanation of why do many people with dementia find that they're able to connect with loved ones that have passed.
This is fascinating. In the most recent episode with Tim Sapola,
Mhm.
he we were talking about the woo of schizophrenia, and he mentions very briefly that there was research done comparing schizophrenics to psychics, and that the same center in their brain is lit up. Now, some other areas of the brain are shut down for a schizophrenic compared to
Yes,
a
psychic.
psychic. But it would be fascinating to compare psychics with those who have dementia and what's going on.
Yes.
That would.
It's, yeah, a very interesting way of looking at it. And it made me feel better about, the people that I knew that had dementia, and then that they may not be truly suffering, but they're just looking at things differently.
Yes.
And a good perspective, I'm using it. I'm
Yeah.
going to use that one.
That's lovely. Again, sorry to mention my work often in this episode, but in the work that I do, we talk all the time about shifting your perspective and reframing. And I kind of think that's everything in life. Perspective is everything in life. And just the way that you just said that, I love that. Like a good perspective. How did you say it? You're gonna hold on to
I'm
that?
going to hold with that, Jess.
Yeah.
And then when you're interacting with a person who has dementia or schizophrenia or some other mental illness, you have to get into their world and work with them. And not just say, oh my gosh, they're just crazy or, oh, they're just demented and write them off. No, speak with them in their world. And it might be that they think they're 25 again. Interact with them as if they are 25. Ask what they're doing, what interests them. And it allows them to express themselves in a meaningful way.
Beautiful. And to
And
me,
not
that's
everybody will interact with people that have mental illness or dementia because they aren't prepared themselves.
yes. And I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I was going to say, to me, that's the difference between responding in fear or, as you were saying in the beginning, responding with love.
Yeah, yeah. And it's always different. Now, I'm going to change the topic a little bit, and I'm going to go back to about a year ago when there were all these supposed UAPs in the sky that turned out to be drones from New Jersey.
Okay.
But I live way out in the country, and if I'm out at night, I see a great number of lights in the sky. And sometimes it's airplanes going into a nearby airport. But in this world, anytime you're flying a device, whether it be an airplane or a drone, you have to have red and green lights on it so other vehicles, other planes can tell the port and starboard sides.
Okay. Hmm.
But I'm seeing many things in the sky that have no lights on them that are green and red. They're just simply white lights.
Hmm.
And sometimes they are just sailing along like a plane, and other times they just stop in one location and just stay there for some time. And I like to think it's the otherworldly beings that visit me once in a while. And so I say hi to them and I ask them if I could help them in some way. And I don't always know, but I am have been told by other persons that otherworldly beings have come to me often in my lifetime and taken me to their ship or wherever they take me to. And I'd have to agree that that's probably happened.
Wow.
And about maybe 6 months ago, I was sleeping and I was awakened and I saw the foot of an otherworldly being in my bedroom.
Okay.
And I don't know what was going on, and then I went back to sleep and woke up the next morning and I have no idea what was going on. But every day I like to thank my angels, my guardians, my guardian angels, and the otherworldly beings for whatever help they can give me and whatever help they can give the planet. And I
Beautiful.
wish everybody would thank them every day. Uh, there's nothing, in my opinion, there is nothing scary about it.
Ah,
It just is people talking to people,
mm-hmm,
or beings talking to beings, I guess I should say.
mm-hmm.
And so I kind of hope that they continue to come and visit me.
Ah,
And if I can help them, I will. And then maybe someday I will learn what I'm actually doing, what they're actually doing. I know when we speak with Penny, she freely admits that she is from another group, another planet.
mm-hmm.
And I don't think a lot of people will freely admit that because again, that's outside the woo, that's crazy. And yet, maybe not.
Yeah. To have an open mind, I think is very, very good. And to have a little bit of skepticism as well, to
Mhm.
have a balance
Yes.
between those two, I think is always very good.
Well, yes. And the orbs, the not the orbs, I'm sorry, the drones were confusing many, many people.
Yes.
And I got the idea in my head, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, that this is perhaps our government's way of getting us used to the idea of otherworldly craft.
Okay.
Um, and I'm a believer that there have been otherworldly people here and otherworldly craft around our planet for decades or maybe centuries. But not everyone feels the same, and I can appreciate that. But that's just an opinion I have, and I see them everywhere.
Wow.
Many years ago, I was on a vacation and we rented a houseboat on Lake Mead, which is the Hoover Dam.
Mhm.
And there is literally no artificial light there.
Ah, okay.
And there were about 30 shooting stars per hour. It
Wow.
was beautiful. But then you could also see just all types of lights being here and then suddenly here. And it was just, I don't know, magnetizing. It was just something you couldn't close your eyes and go to sleep.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you can do that vacation, please do. It was so fun.
That's just amazing. I mean, that alone, if a person who's never had a woo experience is there lying there and seeing that, I think it is awe-inspiring, first of all,
Oh, yes.
as well as I think it would help anybody shift their perspective just a little bit, like,
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
maybe the world is not exactly in the box that I've been
That they
told
think.
that
Yes.
I believe.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and also, other things that happen in my life, and I'm sure they happen in everyone else's life. I remember some years back, I had a large payment that was due. And I was thinking, oh, where am I going to get the money to pay this?
Mhm.
And I walked out to my mailbox one day, and a friend of mine had passed maybe a year prior to that. And I go to my mailbox and I open the mailbox, and there is a check from her life insurance company that was made out to me as the beneficiary. And I had no idea that that was coming. And of course, I was then able to pay that large bill.
Amazing.
And I'm sure other people have the same type of thing. And, here we might call it the law of attraction, something like that. But it happens, and it happens often. And Penny talks about starting with a parking space. And I have to tell you, I have never not been able to find a parking space. Yes, somewhere within, enough blocks that I don't mind walking. But I'm just saying to the universe, I don't want to have to park a mile away. I want to be closer to the building. I don't have to be right next to the building, but I want to be closer to the building. And then I'll see somebody pull out and I can pull in.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if you can, and I might be asking too much, but like some people would call that manifestation, law of
Mhm.
attraction. Um,
Yes.
how do you describe, if you can, the mechanism of what
Hmm.
is going on there?
That,
How does that work?
that's a very good question. And I've given it the nickname parking karma.
Okay.
Uh, but it really isn't karma as it would be defined. But I'm just assuming that what I need will be there when I need it. And parking spaces are one of the things. And so maybe I can't find one here, and I turn the corner and there's a parking space. But I maybe what I've done is I've ahead of time I've said, thanks, I need a parking space right now. Could you show me one?
Beautiful.
And I do talk to inanimate objects quite a bit. I
Okay.
started by talking to my plants, and
Beautiful.
I found how much they liked it. So now I will thank my car.
Yeah.
I will thank the cat, but that's just like talking to yourself. Uh, but I'll thank the refrigerator.
Mhm.
Uh, just whatever I need because it's helping me do what I need or want to get done.
Mhm.
And I'm very happy for that. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I have a house to live in. And
Mhm.
I'm grateful that I have clean water at my house all the time.
Yes.
But just, last night I was very tired and I just thought I was going to bed. How nice it is to have a bed to go to.
Yes.
And in my area right now, there's a larger debate going on about where the homeless should be living.
Okay.
And I have a home to go to. I have a bed to sleep in. And many of these people are sleeping in a tent or under a bridge.
Mhm.
And we need to address that in some way. And again, I know that there's many reasons why people are homeless, but I'm also thinking it can be solved, maybe not to everyone's liking, but it can be solved if we put our minds to it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I know, I believe I read it was in Colorado, in a city, they solved the homeless problem by giving them homes. And gee, maybe we could do that in some locations.
Yeah.
Um, right around me, there is a tent city that is being monitored for sanitation and health concerns. And it seems to be working out, but it's still warm temperatures.
Right. Exactly.
And once we get into winter, then I don't know if that's going to be a workable solution. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, barring us here solving the homeless problem, which we're
well,
not going to be able to
yeah,
do,
yeah,
I want to go back to your practice of gratitude. You know, that's basically what you were describing.
yes,
You're talking to your refrigerator and you're thanking it. You're thanking life and or the bed itself for the fact that you have a bed, that you have
yes,
a home. And again, this takes me back to, when you do that practice of gratitude, it literally allows you to release helpful chemistry in your body. And
yes,
supports us being in a calm, grounded, and I would say even loving state. So it takes me right back to the beginning where you were mentioning, this is about love.
love, yes. And sending love to everyone and everything. And I will send love to my corn, to my beets, to my tomatoes, and they will grow very nicely. And talking to your plants might seem a little odd to people, but I do it frequently. And my house plants, and then they bloom.
Mhm.
Or I'm thanking them when they bloom because they give me a beautiful show, and sooner or later that will die off, but they'll do it again in a few months or another year. And it's always relevant that your environment and you are connected. Because otherwise, you just don't have a clue what's going on. That's, well, maybe I shouldn't have said it that way. But if you're not connected to your environment, you're just floating through space and things are happening to you instead of for you. And that's a whole different perspective. And in our culture right now, you do see a lot of victimization types of things. Why is this happening to me? Or I'm this way because of this.
Yes.
And I don't always go into that mode. And when people have that belief, I don't always try to change it. Sometimes you just have to meet them where they are.
Yeah.
But I can send them love, and I can hope that they will change their perspective.
Yeah.
And maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I can try.
Yeah.
And anyone can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I think in this world, there are moments where people are victimized, but I think there is a difference between having that type of experience and then staying in the perspective
Mm-hmm.
of victimhood. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And again, going back to the Course in Miracles, we're here for the experience. Consciousness wants to experience every single thing, what we would consider good or what we would consider bad. And so, as humans on this planet, we're experiencing every single thing. And consciousness is saying, wow, I needed that experience for some reason. But I may not know exactly what it is until I cross the veil, and then I'll understand it even better. I'm also a person who believes that before we decided to be born on this earth as a human, we worked with our consciousness and our guides and what have you to determine who we're going to be, where we're going to be born, who our parents will be, things like that. And then once we're born, we forget that. And we just muddle through here on the planet until we go back and we try it again. So, but that would also then say that we can be reincarnated. And again, I do a past life regression hypnosis business, and I don't have a lot of clients or anything, but I do it occasionally. And it's interesting, very interesting to me to see how sometimes what is bothering a person in this lifetime can be brought to bear on what happened in a previous lifetime. And, you know, the classic example was Dr. Weiss had a client who was terrified of water and couldn't understand why. And then through hypnosis and past life regression, found out that during the major floods in Egypt in a previous life of hers, she and her child had been swept away in the waters. And in this life, she was afraid of water. Well, that does make a lot of sense when you connect the two. But again, many people would say that that's just baloney. Maybe, maybe not.
Right. And to me, those types of experiences and past life regression type work, it doesn't even matter to me if it really happened or not, as long as the reason I'm saying that is in many of these cases, maybe not all, but in many of them, having had that imagery, that storyline move through you as you are working with your own issue, often resolves the issue in the here and now. So
Yes.
to me, doesn't, I mean, and how could you ever prove it? But it doesn't necessarily matter if it was ever really a past life regression or if it was a psychological construct that you created and hey, it helped resolve the issue in the present.
This
That's
lifetime, yes. And I, you know, and as a therapist yourself, how people view events can vary so differently. Whereas one person will see an event and think it is a neutral event, and another one will either find it to be the best thing they've ever had or horrible.
yes.
And that perspective, but everyone has their own perspective, then they have to work with that. And if it was a horrible event for them, that might color their judgment, their life, their choices for years to come.
Absolutely. That
Yes.
is how we create our lives, the quality
Mhm.
of our lives, by our
Yes.
beliefs and the meanings that we make out of our experiences.
Yes. Our thoughts really are reflecting our beliefs
Mhm.
about anything.
Mhm.
And so we are judging, is it good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent? And everyone judges it differently. So we just never really think about that. We think, and that is something that I worked with students and clients for years. We think everybody is just like us. And we truly do until we encounter somebody who is so different. It's like, oh, they're weird. No, they're just different. But we truly think that they're just like us, but we weren't raised the same. We're not of the same nationality. We may not speak the same language. Our culture is different. And so they're not really just like us. I think all human beings in general are good persons, but oh, we vary so widely. It's just amazing how much we vary.
That's a beautiful thing to keep in mind as we walk through our lives. No,
Yes.
we are all very, we are in many ways very much the same, and in many ways we are very different from each.
Hmm. Yes. And children can, same family, children raised in the same family can turn out to be complete different beings.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And even a parent will say, I don't know where that one came from, but he's yours. Yes. And you're thinking same mom, same dad, but everything is different. When you have one child and you add another one, it's a whole different influence.
Absolutely.
And the third and the fourth and the fifth, etc.
Yeah. So, Janet, maybe we're coming close to wrapping up here, but
Yes.
one thing that's sitting with me that I wanted to ask, when you were talking about um, believing that you didn't use the word soul, but I'll say it that way. Our souls kind of are choosing, and then we come here and we have these lessons, and it kind of made me want to ask, like, how do you, or how quickly do you, and it's not a matter of speed, but how do you process and learn your lessons in this life? You actually said maybe you won't know until you're on the other side.
Mhm.
But if we are here to have experience, if that is part of why we are here, and consciousness wants to have all kinds of experiences,
Mhm. Yes.
the question is, I'm asking you specifically, how do you seem to be this beautiful, very loving human being who kind of creates an ease and a flow in your own life. And it
I
makes me
try
want
to.
to ask you, how do you learn your lessons in this life?
And sometimes I don't learn them at all, and I know this. And sometimes I can also say that for the majority of my life, I was a typical 3D person who was striving to have the best job, the best education, uh, you know, all the material goods, and so on and so forth. And then I can't pinpoint one thing, but I just started to change and to realize that it wasn't that important. Now, learning things, sometimes I've been smacked in the face because I've made a poor decision and it has come back to haunt me. And I've learned from that, but I am sure that there are hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of things that I really have not absorbed. And while you're saying a warm, loving being, oh, I can be as angry as the day is long sometimes when things don't happen the way I think they should. And when you start talking about shoulds and musts, it's never good. But when something doesn't get done, I just recently had a 3-month-old computer that was just a happy little computer, and I used it frequently, and I got the blue screen of death. Yes. And I know how to fix the blue screen of death, and I couldn't fix it.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I spent 3 hours online with a tech, and he couldn't fix it.
Wow.
And boy, was I upset about that. And I kind of learned you can't just get so upset. Nothing happened. And maybe if I weren't as upset, I could have managed to fix it.
Yes.
But I got it fixed eventually.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes. And maybe that's, something I need to say. You got to stop and think, what is the real issue going on here? And I think I learned that it was because my house was struck by lightning.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And I thought my extension cord went and saved the computer, but I think something got through into the computer and caused the blue screen of death.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, learning is an ongoing process, and you learn new things every day, as they say. And when I'm thinking about something, I may even be able to go back and say, I used to think this, and now I know differently.
Oh, I love that.
And maybe a year from now, I'll even say, wow, that has changed for me. But
Yes.
every day, you truly do have new experiences. They may look the same as they were yesterday. Like you got up, you had breakfast, but it's a new day. And how is it different? How is it the same? And I truly believe we are here to learn or to teach, to have experiences. And I'm having a lot of them. And sometimes I do learn, I'll call it maybe clairsentience, where something just comes to me. I don't hear voices, I don't see beings, but I'll just have something come to me as if I watched a movie or read a book or a TV show, and I just know. And then that clarifies, oh, that's what that was all about.
Beautiful.
And then I can move on. Or I might be interacting with somebody and I get a picture of something that is happening with them. And sometimes I can share it with them. And sometimes I know, no, it's not the time to share it with them.
Mhm.
But that's how I'm learning. And again, in the next life, I may know a lot more. Or
Okay.
I may go back to being unknowledgeable about anything.
Now I have one more question if you
Yes.
okay. So and I want to ask this because I think people watching may benefit from the shift that you had from being a 3D person to then you started to change and realize some of those 3D things were not so important. And you said you don't really know maybe when or how that change occurred. But I want to ask you, when and how did that change occur? Like what happened? Even though you said you don't know,
Yeah.
I want to just ask and see if it bubbles up at all for you.
Yeah.
Because I think this happens all the time for people.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so does anything come to you as to really what did help you to shift from that 3D person to becoming somewhat different in your perspective?
And I'm going to say, I think I grew up.
Ah,
And when you're, 21, you're supposed to be grown up, but you aren't really.
yes.
And I'm thinking that, this was about when I was in my 40s and 50s. And I started to realize that I wasn't satisfied that I had gotten the job that I wanted. I wasn't, it was nice and it was wonderful and I loved my job, but it just didn't fulfill me the way I would expect it to be. And just other things, it's nice to have the nice house, but is that everything kind of thing? And just realizing that there is more to everything. And I can't say that I'm 4D, I might be 4D for 10 minutes every day or something, but I'm moving that way. And then I also, my late husband had gotten ill, and that probably did make me start thinking about what in this life is really important. And so that's about the best answer I can give because I can't say, and I know some people say, I read this or I saw that, and just everything changed. No, it was a gradual thing over about 5, maybe 7 years.
Mhm.
And then I started to realize I am thinking so differently than the people that I'm normally associating with.
Well, that is incredible to me because, again, love and shift in perspective, I think, are two components that really help us live healthy
Yes.
lives. And you just described over a period of 5 to 7 years, you were gradually shifting your perspective and having experiences and quote unquote growing up
Mhm.
and from if you like did a timeline from the beginning of that 5 or 7 years to the other side of that 5 to 7 years, you were a completely different person, or at least in your
Yes.
perspectives.
Yes. And, when I still was doing some of the same old things,
Sure.
uh, but I viewed them differently.
Yes, that's the point.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'd been an educator or a therapist for years.
Mhm.
And I now have a perspective that our educational system is so broken that it can't be repaired. It needs to be restarted.
Okay. Hmm.
I and I feel for the people coming out of that system
Yes.
and what they're going to be doing in the next 10 or 20 years. Because I truly feel that we are not truly preparing them for the new world.
Hmm.
And it's going to be a big shock to a lot of people when things change.
Well, you just dropped a bombshell here at the end. Do you want to say a tiny little bit about quote unquote a new world? Like,
I see us moving to a new world. I'll call it a new reality, a new timeline, pick your words,
yep.
but just one in which the typical you must get an education, you must get a job, you must get a house, you must get a car, you must have kids, and then you retire and life is all grand. And I see that going away.
Okay.
I
Mhm.
don't, and I see it also in young people today that those goals that we might have set, they don't see the same goals.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're coming in with a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
You and I were kind of conditioned into a certain culture and
Yes.
perspective, and we've had to maybe over a period of 5 or 7 years or longer, maybe, we've
Yes.
had to gradually help ourselves to shift our perspective
Hmm.
from what
Yes.
we originally taught. And young people today maybe are coming in with a whole different perspective already.
And more open.
Yes.
Yes, more open. And I like I said, I never really felt that I fit in, but for years I just thought that was my problem.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yet now when I look back, now I'm realizing it's because I did always see things a little differently than the average person. And I think young people today see things differently than what we would expect of the average person. But
Yeah.
that expectation has changed.
Yes, and perhaps as those who see things differently kind of hold that perspective, and all these new young people are holding a different perspective and maybe saying, well, no, I'm not going to do it that way. Maybe that is what helps the
Yeah.
world change.
Yes. Yes. Nobody's going to say, oh, I need to get a good job and stay at that job for 30 or 40 years and then I'll retire. No. And why do I want to do a job?
Hmm.
Um, Many years ago, I had a student explain that the difference is a job you do to make money. A career is what you do because you want to.
Beautiful. Hmm.
Yes. And what career would people choose? And sometimes, yes, maybe to pay for college or to buy a car, you need to have a job for a while.
Sure.
But and then you go to work somewhere just saying, I just need the paycheck. But in the long run, where are you going? Where do you want to be? And I think it also will change. You and I are maybe of a generation where we kind of did the same thing for almost all of our lives. But our young people today are, and this is something that I've talked about for years, but they are actually going to work in careers that don't yet exist.
Oh, I love
Well, our technology is changing, our
that.
perspective is changing, and 20 years from now, if you talk about a CPA,
Hmm.
people go, "What is a CPA?"
Yeah.
Okay, but today it's like, "Oh, being a CPA, that's a great career," and it is. It's a nice career,
Sure.
but will we need that in 20 years?
Right. Right.
So different perspectives.
This is beautiful, Janet. I
I and
really,
I thank you, Amy. This has been wonderful.
it has been wonderful, and I feel like I could talk to you for another 3 hours, and there would
Yes.
be more and more life lessons and wisdom to be shared. So I have a big hug for you. I feel so
Oh,
much
thank you.
for you and from you, and thank
Well,
you.
it is so nice to speak to somebody who's kind of on the same playing field as I am.
Yes.
And I think maybe you notice that too. When you're interacting with people, there is no woo in their lives. And oh, well, okay. And I have to interact maybe a little differently with that person than another person. But again, maybe someday the woo will come to them.
Well, that's part of the point of this show. I actually believe the woo touches, and again, the woo is having a bit of a sense of humor for a kind of outside of the box experience. I think the woo touches everybody, but not everybody talks about it.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Or believes that they think, oh, that's just an odd occurrence.
yeah,
That was a coincidence
sure.
when we know there are no coincidences or accidents.
Right.
Yeah. And that no accidents. I ran into you. There's no accident there. There's no coincidence.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so again, we could go on and on all day,
Yes.
but we will wrap it up. And I'm very grateful for you to share everything that you've shared here today. And you never know. I think you have a lot more to share, so maybe you'll come back sometime.
That would be good.
Would be lovely. And I'll thank everyone for watching and
Yes.
thank you again. And I hope you all enjoyed. And we'll see you next time on the Everyday Woo. Bye bye,
Bye
everybody.
bye.